What up? Winbush here, and today I wanted to show you guys how to use fog in After Effects with your CG scenes. Now, the reason this is coming about is because I had a comment from Jeffrey Spinner on one of my YouTube videos, and he was saying that he's a little bit confused about using the ZDiff pass to add fog. I'll link down below the video that he's talking about, but in that video, I take my ZDiff pass and I actually screen it out to put the fog in the scene. And he's asking, why would you do this instead of using the environment natively in Redshift? And I went on to explain to him that the reason I do it this way is because I do a lot of work for TV shows, and a lot of times it's really fast paced. And so if I bake in my fog with the environment in Redshift and the client's like, hey, can you dial that fog back or turn it off completely? Then if I have it baked in with Redshift, I have to render out that entire scene, which could take a couple of hours depending on the duration of that scene. But if I have it in After Effects, like I have everything in post and I'm just using my Z depth layers, then I could just turn it off and render it out in After Effects in a couple of minutes. And so he was asking if there's an easier, faster way of doing this in post instead of doing it in Redshift. And so there actually is if you have the Sapphire suite by Boris FX. And so without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to use the scene that I already built out from one of my past tutorials. You can see here I'm using Cinema 4D and I'm using Megascan's grass. I have everything lined up inside the matrix and it's just a whole row of grass going all the way through. And if I look at my AOV manager, I have a Z depth pass that I rendered out. And so I have everything here in After Effects. I just added a stock image of the sky here just to throw in the background, and on my grass level I just do some levels on here. And so now what I want to do is I want to take my depth pass and I'm gonna bring it down to the bottom of everything down here, and that's because I really don't want to see it. And so from here I'm going to right click in my timeline. I'm gonna go to new, hit adjustment layer, and I'm gonna just name this one fog. And then in my effects and presets, I'm going to type in fog. And now if you have the Sapphire suite, you can see here that it's going to give us two different fogs, and I'll show you guys both of those. And so let me start with the top one, the Z Fog Exponential. And if I bring this over onto my adjustment layer, you see that it automatically gets grayed out from the start. And so what I want to do here is let's take a look at my Z depth layer. So I'm going to turn this back on and solo it out. And so if you can see here, basically I have my blacks is what's going to be in view, and then my whites and grays are what's going to be fogged out in the back there. And so what I want to do here is let me unsolo this and turn it back off, go to my fog and tell it that I want to use my Z buffer. I want to use that depth layer, and then from there, like I was saying, the black is going to be what's in front of us or what we want to see clearly. So I want to do black is near, and you can see there we already have our fog kind of receding back into our scene. So from here we just play with the fog density, and you can even change the color of the fog as well. So if I want it to be a little bit whiter, you can color pick and drag that up. Oops, and make this full screen so you guys can see it. So that's basically how you would add the fog quickly in there with the exponential fog. And if you're not happy with these results, like it's looking a little bit bland to me right here, what I could do is I could take my depth layer here and actually make a pre-comp out of it, because what I want to do in here is I want to add levels to it to kind of make the blackers more black and the whites more white in the back. So let me zoom out a little bit here so we can see that I'm making the blackers more black in the front, and I'm making the background a little bit more white, but not too much. So now I'm going to go back into my main composition here. I'm going to go down to my depth layer here, and I'm going to hold down Alt and drag this down to replace it. And now you can see that our front view is a little bit more clear, and it recedes back and has fog there in the background. Now let me show you guys the other one. So if I go back on fog, let me delete the exponential fog and let me type back in fog here and go to fog linear. Okay, so it's doing the same thing here. And we want to add our Z depth buffer, our depth mat here. And when I want to go back to here and do black is near. And the main difference with this one is this one, instead of just fog density, is actually giving us control over the fog near and the fog far. So if I want to have it really foggy in the background, I'll move this all the way up to 1. And then if I want to add a little bit of fog here in the foreground, I'll bring this up a little bit like so. And you also still have control over your fog color. Like even if you wanted to make it red or something crazy like that, you have control over to do that. That's basically it for that. So hopefully that helped you out. And if you wanted to use the Sapphire fog plugins, make sure you go to the website. I actually have a link in the description. If you type in keyword Winbush, you'll get 15% off on that. And you can also download the free trial if you guys want to kind of try it out. And so, as always, please tell your friends about the channel, subscribe, and keep creating. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.